Alright, as a lot of you guys know, I am a DIY mechanic. I'm not an actual mechanic. I don't have a shop. I just work on my own cars and my friends, help them out with stuff. And I also have a couple Mercedes Sprinters that I work on. And so this is the MaxiTPMS tool. This is the only TPMS tool that I own. And I just want to go over a couple things. I've had it for about a year, so I figure might as well show you what I have learned. So if you're watching this video, you know what a TPMS tool is. If you don't know, it's the tool that lets you program, replace, and diagnose your tire pressure monitoring system in your car. So I've only replaced, on the cars here, I replaced one sensor on my Toyota. I've done 8 sensors on some Mercedes Sprinters, and I've just diagnosed some issues with some other cars. And I'm going to show you a couple things I use this tool for that you might not have thought about if you don't own one yet. And I'm also going to show you a couple things I don't really like about it. Alright, so the first thing is, this is the old sensor from my Toyota. I want you to take note that the serial number is on here, 6E0A552. That is the actual number that showed up in the system. If you wanted to clone this sensor, you could based on that number, although it's not necessary to clone these because you can just go ahead and program a new one as a Toyota sensor for that year, put it in the car, and the car will automatically recognize it. I assume some cars do need to be cloned. In that case, you'd have to hook up to OBD2 and pull the list of existing sensors and clone one of the serial numbers, but I didn't have to do that. I think I may have cloned it just for the sake of cloning it, so it was instantly there, and there's sort of a benefit to that, and I'll explain that in a minute. Anyway, this is an all-tel sensor. There's a couple different, they're the same thing. This is one from, I guess, Amazon. It's in a bigger box. This is from AutoZone. They run about 25 bucks or so. And they're both 315 megahertz and 433 megahertz, and they're pretty universal. So far, they've worked with every car that I've played with this on, except for a Volkswagen. I don't know what happens there. That has a whole different system. It was a Volkswagen Jetta, had a completely different system that I'm familiar with. But anyway, I'm going to show you what I have here. So on my Toyota, I have another dead sensor, and we'll go show you what I don't like. So the first thing is we're going to go in here. We're going to do a quick mode, Toyota RAV4. It's a 2010. And we're going to scan all sensors. So clear old data. Yeah, we're going to clear the old data. It's telling us to go to the front driver's side. We are going to scan it. And when you scan, right there, when it scans and beeps like that, the thing in my hand, the tool, transmitted to the car, or to that TPMS sensor, and told it to wake up and send its information. So it did. And when it does that, it actually is your vehicle's TPMS receiver receives that information. So like, let's say you inflated your tires and you don't want to drive down the road. Inflate your tire, come over here with this, read the pressure with this. It will update your TPMS module in your car, and you don't have to drive down the road to get a new reading. So that's kind of convenient because you can, whenever fall rolls around, all the tires get low in your car, you can use this tool to instantly trigger a reading rather than having to drive for a few miles to get your TPMS light to go away. I actually do that every time I fill the tires. Now, I already know this is the tire that has the dead battery in it, so I'm going to show you what happens. I'm here, I hit the middle button to scan. It's trying to read the sensor, but this one is completely dead. And this is something I really don't like about this so much. I'm going to try to read this sensor. It's completely dead. It's going to time out in about, 30 seconds, a minute, I'm not sure exactly. So what's happening is the tool is transmitting saying, hey, wake up, send me your information. And it's obviously not going to get an answer because this one's dead. So when that happens, it just puts an X there, right? So now what am I to do? If I hit the button again, it's going to scan this tire again. And how do I progress to the rear driver's side tire? I can't. So if I go over here, because that one's dead, now I come over here and I scan this one. Look, it put it in the spot for the passenger side tire, even though that one's just not responsive. So there's no way to, maybe, I don't know if the arrow buttons, I guess I could have done that. Okay, so the arrow button would have allowed me to go to the other tire. Just discovered that now while I'm here. So just be careful about that. Doesn't really matter which one you scan as long as you remember which one it was. So you can see I have a completely dead one on that side, and that's probably why my TPMS light's flashing at me. And then I have one that's low on this side, on this car. So I'm going to go ahead and replace that one on that side, probably replace this one. You should really replace all 4 if you have one battery that dies. This car is 14 years old, so it's pretty obvious that, they're going to die because they only last about 10 years or so. And this one is the one I already replaced. So this one is an all-tel sensor. I already did this one maybe 6 months ago, so really easy to do. If you clone it, you don't have to do anything. Just clone it and you're done. I mean, your car will automatically recognize it because it thinks that it's the same sensor that was already there. And if you're like me and you just, you're hobbying around with your cars and you're fixing real problems with them, like I don't have a lift, so there's a lot I can't do. This tool might not be worth it for you, but if you find it on sale and you don't feel like paying whatever the going rate is to have somebody take your tires off and replace sensors for you, which can get pricey, maybe it's worth it for you. But I use it for, in the fall when a tire light comes on, or any tire light. I actually just go around the car and I trigger each sensor with this tool rather than pulling out my pressure gauge. I don't even have to take the caps off. Just go around the car, check the pressure, see what the system thinks the pressure is before you even whip out the air compressor. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go back in here. We're going to set this for a 2019 BMW. So this is a BMW G05, which is, I believe, up until 2024 or 2025, they still make this BMW. Yeah, I was in the wrong menu there. I was under Toyota. So we're going to go to BMW. We're going to set the proper make, model, year. So we're going to go to X5. Basically, you just go in and you set the, there's so many different, every manufacturer does it differently. Each make, model, year is different. There's 433 and 315 for a lot of these. Sometimes you'll find overlap where there's two model years in here. The same year is in there twice, but one's 433 and one's 315. All right, so we're going to go to, this is a 2018 through 2023. I'm going to show you something else on here that I don't like, although the thing I just showed you that I don't like isn't that bad. All right, so we're going to go in here, front driver's side. This car is only 5 years old. We're going to go ahead and scan it. And what did I do wrong? All right, did I pick the wrong year? Let's go back. 2018 through 2023, that's correct. But that's the 315. All right, so this must be the 433. So we're going to hit scan all sensors. So for example, there you go. This car is in there twice, once with one frequency, once with the other. So we're going to go back, we're going to scan it. Okay. This always tells me my batteries are low on this car. Don't know why. They're not. But it says it every time I've ever scanned them. It'll show me that all 4 of them are low. So it's like, I don't know if they're going to fix that in a software update. I don't know why it says it. And I'll show you how the software updates work, which is pretty cool too. But you see every single one of them. Oh, look at that. They're both exactly the same, 36.4. Every single one of them tells me that it has a dead battery. So I know that not to be true because it's been saying this for a whole year. And by now I think one of them would have actually died on me. But I think it's just a, something with this particular transmitter that it, with this sensor, that it does that. And look at that, I got a low one. That one was significantly low. So I'll pump that baby up. But there you go. So what I tend to do is I actually just use this for checking the tire pressure before I go and get before I go get the pump. Now that only works on cars that when you hold this on and tell it to trigger, that it will actually trigger. The Volkswagen I tried this on didn't do that. It would not trigger when I would hold the scan tool up to the stem. I would try and just sit there and nothing would happen. So on that one, I'm assuming when the car starts and the wheels are turning, that's the only time that the transmitters transmit. And there's something that they do on that car, I forget what it is, but it has something to do with traction control. I'd have to look it up. But anyway, for most of the cars I've used it on, everyone except that one, this thing's been pretty successful. Like I said, if you can get it cheap, if you're going to spend, I don't know what the going rate is to have your TPMS sensors replaced, but my guess is it's $100 a sensor plus labor. And maybe I'm off. I'm sure every manufacturer, every dealer has a different price. But anyway, here's our serial numbers for each of those sensors. And if one of them was completely dead, you obviously wouldn't be able to get the serial number from this tool. So you'd have to plug into the OBD2 port on the car if you were looking to clone the sensors. There is a procedure for every car that's different. No, not all are different, but there's lots of different procedures. Some of them you can just put in a new sensor, drive for 10 miles, it will automatically identify the new one without you cloning the serial number. If you do clone it, like I said, it's just going to magically work because it's going to think that the new sensor is the old sensor, and it's just going to go for it. But overall, I'm happy with it. Like I said, I'm happy with it enough that I'll pull it out before I get the air pump. So anyway, if you're looking for a decent DIY TPMS tool, I've had a lot of success with this thing. And with just a couple notes here before I go, these are the metal stem version. There's also a rubber stem version, I think, of this. My cars had the metal stem version already, so that's what I went with. And this is a 2-part, so you have your stem itself, and then the sensor hangs on here, and there's a screw that comes with it. The smaller box from AutoZone, for whatever reason, it's just a smaller box, so they couldn't fit the sensor in there already assembled, so they give you that in 3 parts, and the bigger box it's already assembled in there. But as far as I know, they're the same sensor. Like the part number, one of them has a part number 1-sensor-M, and the other one says 300030. But they look identical to me. I'm thinking that it's just the packaging that's different. It's the Autel MX sensor, and it does tell you what torque to put. So 4 Newton meters, and I guess the 12 means it's a 12 millimeter. Is that right? I don't know. But it does tell you the torque. Make sure you don't over torque them or under torque them because you're going to get a leaky seal. But it's super easy. Just take the old one out. This was my old one, like I said. Take it out, put the new one on, spray with a little Windex, make sure it's good once you inflate it. And by the way, you cannot program them. If you inflate the tire first, you can't program these. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to put it in and then try to program it after your tire guy mounts and balances and inflates your tires. And lastly, if you go through the menus on here, you can do your updates, and I recommend doing the updates every time. I didn't do it before I did this video because I saw there was an update and I wanted to show you. But basically it has a Wi-Fi module in it. You connect it to your Wi-Fi, you do the updates. And I think that's what the WF stands for on the part number. And I did want that. I didn't want to have to run to a computer every time I have to do an update. So here you go. There's a new version here. We're going to go ahead and download it, and we are going to oh, maybe I have to get some power here. All right, so I got to plug it in before I can do the update. But there you go. All the updates come in over the air, over Wi-Fi. Super convenient. I would get it if you're interested in a TPMS tool, although I don't have any others to compare it to, but I've had great success with it so far.